Hey Brewers fans, we know it can get real cold outside. So let's warm you up with the latest on the crew. It's time for Hot Stove Weekly on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. It's time to focus on the 2026 championship season. Get the latest on free agent signings, trades, the front office, and the fans. It's Hot Stove Weekly with Tommy Wirtz. Here's the franchise Tim Allen.
Psych. No. Neither one are here. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you here tonight. Tim Allen off in Vegas. Knowing Tim Allen probably winning money. Tommy Wirtz off on other assignments for the radio station. He's actually in the Door County area doing other stuff. So he will be back tomorrow. The franchise, Tim Allen, he will be back as well at some point. Next 2 weeks, on Thursdays, the next 2 Thursdays will be Hot Stove Weekly, not Wednesdays. And the reason that is because in Milwaukee, there will be college basketball games on the air in Milwaukee. So we can't run our games in Milwaukee over the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Therefore, we have to move Hot Stove Weekly. So Hot Stove Weekly with Tim and Tommy will be for the next 2 weeks, starting next week, will be on Thursday nights from 5 until 7. So make that note and you will be all set. Coming up on today's show, it's going to be a fun one. And I've been going through and looking up stuff and trying to get myself ready for the interviews that we have coming up today. Chad Patrick, Brewers starting pitcher, will join us coming up at 5:30. Looking forward to talking to Chad Patrick about the offseason, getting going here in spring training, starting tomorrow, and really kind of the whole outlook that he had going into last year at the same time versus probably where he is right now. And I don't know, we'll see what he says. I don't know if you pencil Chad Patrick in necessarily or not, as far as is he into that rotation? I do. I pencil him into that starting rotation. I feel comfortable with him in that rotation. I was watching Dan Plesac on MLB Network yesterday, and Dan Plesac was praising Chad Patrick, and in his mind, he has him in the rotation too. Now, I look at this rotation as Brandon Woodruff is your 1. Your 2 is either Mizorowski or Priester. Pick. Doesn't matter to me which one is 2 and 3. And then the other guy in the rotation is Chad Patrick. Now, whether that becomes the 4th starter or the 5th starter, but I think he is the other guy that I think is a lock to be in this rotation. Then after that, you have the free-for-all for the 5th spot. I've talked about this before, but going into spring training, most MLB teams will have the roster pretty much done. So let's say you listening going to spring training and you're already on the team. The skipper's already got you penciled in. Yeah, he's on the roster. You could hit 200. You're on the team. They already got you penciled in. It's not in pencil. It's penned in, let's say, right? So a lot of times, while we as fans get all excited about one of our guys that we want to be on the team, oh man, he's hitting 350. There's no way they're sending him down. Whoop, gone. Want to know why? Because there was never going to be a fair shot to begin with. They already knew who it was going to be. So that's why a lot of times when you see beat writers be like, none of this matters. Like, this is just guys are working on stuff, whatever. None of this really matters because this roster is pretty much set. Now, a lot of times you may have the end of the bench guy. Maybe there's 2 guys that there's some debate about who is going to be on that bench on opening day. Maybe there's debate over one bullpen opening. Maybe there is debate over a backup catcher. Not sure who the backup catcher is going to be behind the starter. It varies, obviously, from team to team. I think from the Brewers' perspective, I think there's legitimate debate on who the 5 starter is. I think realistically, you would love the other person to be a left-handed pitcher. That's what you would like because you're very right-handed, obviously, in the starting rotation right now. So who then does that come up with? Well, Aaron Ashby could be a guy. Robert Gasser could be a guy. Harrison, who you just got in that trade, he could be a lefty that could be in this rotation. I just don't think, if given a choice, they would want to go with 5 righties in this rotation. I think they would want a lefty. So from that perspective, I tend to think they're going to want Ashby in the bullpen still. I think they're going to want DL Hall in the bullpen still. I don't think there's probably an open competition for them per se. So they go back there. My interest level on this is I think they want Gasser or Harrison to win that job. That would be my guess. And then whoever doesn't win that job between those two probably goes down and gets into that AAA rotation with Henderson, with Sproat, who you got from the Mets. And those are your first three guys down there in that rotation for the Milwaukee Brewers. And then you've got all these other guys that you can then talk about of who's in the rotation down at AAA, who ends up in a bullpen role, and all of this other stuff. I would be super surprised if Patrick wasn't in this rotation already at spring training. You know, they have all these meetings. Okay, who do we know for sure is on this roster? And you put everybody in, right? Bryce Terang, yeah, he's here. Frelick's here. Churrio's here. Contreras is here. And you go through. The other position that I think is wide open at this point is probably third base. But in a weird way, it appears from what they're saying, and, you know, you have to be cautious with what you believe at this point from what they say, but it appears that all options are on the table on the infield. That's what it appears. So that means that you could have Terang at shortstop. And I understand most of you don't want Terang at shortstop. I get it. It's fine. It's totally fine. But with Caleb Durbin here, that probably made the most sense. Oh, if Durbin is your second baseman, if that's who it's going to be going forward, Terang's at shortstop, and then go find a power hitting third baseman and let's just play. But once they traded Caleb Durbin, now I think if they believe in Joey Ortiz the way that Pat Murphy said he did at the end of last season, I think Terang and Ortiz, some combination of that is probably on the infield. Then the third person on the infield is Tyler Black or Jet Williams. I don't think Cooper Pratt is ready to come up and potentially play shortstop so Joey Ortiz can go to third base. I don't think he's ready to come up, right? Now, he didn't hit well last year. And what a lot of people will tell you is, hey, man, it's tough to hit in the Southern League, right? I mean, it's not that much different than Terang when he was in Southern League. He struggled too. Fine, fair, understood. I just don't think I would feel comfortable promoting him straight up without having some type of success at AAA first. If you're going to move Pratt up to AAA and he's hitting, 300 at AAA come June and Joey Ortiz is struggling, by all means, make the move. I support it. I'm in. I just don't think you could promote based on how he hit last year straight to the major league level. So then the other options, guy like Brock Wilken, who also was down there at the AA level. But he's had freak injuries the last couple of years. You still haven't seen him put together a full season. So I don't think that's a realistic expectation either. Now, another name that's been brought up because of the trade is David Hamilton. David Hamilton, and a former Brewers prospect back in the day when he was younger. David Hamilton, super fast. More of a guy that's probably more of a second baseman, but decent defensively on the infield. He can't hit. That's the problem. Now, if they can work their magic and get this dude to use his speed and fix him, well, that's completely different then. So if you think David Hamilton is open to the third base idea, then it's Hamilton, it's Jet Williams, it's Tyler Black. And Tyler Black, again, they moved off of there previously, right? He's playing first base, he's playing outfield. So if they are going to put him back at third base, that is going to be a very gutsy call on their part to revert back to where he was. And if memory serves correctly, defensively, I don't believe he was all that great at third base when they did give him that opportunity previously down in the minors. it seems like it's a complete no-brainer at this point to me that Jet Williams, who you get in the Freddie Peralta deal at 5'7", with some pop, you get 15 to 20 homers a year, it looks like, blazing speed, good arm. It appears that he is on this infield. Now, the only question becomes where? Do they give him the Caleb Durbin role for a year potentially? And then after this upcoming season, when Amade potentially is ready to come up and play, do they then, and maybe Andrew Fisher as well, your draft pick from last year, they potentially could be the left side of the infield in 27 or 28. Then at that point, then does Jet Williams go to the outfield? I don't think Jet Williams has a home run in the infield permanently. But for a year, I could absolutely see a scenario where Jet Williams is playing on this infield more than he is not on a day-to-day basis. Then after you make that decision, you then have to make the next decision, which is where in the lineup and what is this lineup going to look like? I saw a guesstimate by MLB Network of what this lineup would look like for the Brewers. And once again, we have Jackson Chourio back in the leadoff spot again. And I will say once again, I do not like this idea of Jackson Chourio in the leadoff spot. I much rather like the idea of Chourio in the middle of the lineup. Even if it is Chourio on the 3 spot, Yelich in the 4 spot, Contreras in the 5 spot, or Chourio, Contreras, Yelich, whatever, 3, 4, 5 in the middle. Let Harang be that 2-hitter, and then between Jet Williams and Frelick, let either one of those two potentially be your leadoff hitter, and whoever your leadoff hitter isn't, that is the other guy down there at that 9 hole. And then Joey Ortiz is your 8-hitter at that point. To me, that makes a lot more sense if you're the Milwaukee Brewers and how you attack this thing going forward. My question to you is this. If you're the Brewers and you're looking at what they currently have, what are you doing on this infield if you are the Milwaukee Brewers? Nikolai Lautaka, text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250. 920, don't rule out Mike Volpe as the third baseman. He is a solid defender, has a 296 average in the minors with an 809 OPS. He made the most major ready of, maybe the most major league ready of any third baseman in the minors. He's a solid contact hitter. All right, let's look up Mike Volpe's numbers here. He is definitely a guy that has been on the radar. Definitely a guy you heard Tommy Wirtz talk about as well during the leadoff show throughout the season when he was talking about his minor league numbers and so forth. He was in his age 23 season. In 25, he split time at Double-A last year. He had 233, 329 on base, 336 slugging. That's not going to get it done. And again, it's Southern League, right? So Cooper Pratt also struggled down there as well. Now, this was his second stint at Double-A. In 24, he had 66 games, 255 at-bats. He hit 306 with a 374 on-base percentage, 6 homers, 28 RBIs. Then last year, he comes back with 262 at-bats last year and struggled mightily down there hitting the baseball. And his slugging percentage was only 336. That's not good. And it's not good at all. Again, but he's not 5'7", right? 6'1", got some decent size to him. Baseball Reference has him as third base, first base, and second base. I don't know if he necessarily is the guy at this point either. The other possibility in all of this, from a Brewer standpoint, because I've seen a lot of people bringing up Colby Mayo to me previously in the last month or so. Colby Mayo is a guy that is a top prospect and has been for the last several years for the Baltimore Orioles, a guy that was given an opportunity last year and failed miserably, striking out at an alarming rate. and didn't do much with the opportunity he was given with his cup of coffee with the Baltimore Orioles. I don't know necessarily where the Baltimore Orioles are as far as potentially moving Colby Mayo one way or the other. But Mayo, again, is a taller, longer player that has a humongous amount of power potential. The reason I don't think that's going to happen is because, as I've stated before, I think this is a gap year. They're just trying to hold steady for one season, 26, and then hopefully Fisher and Made can get up here at some point in 27. That becomes the new left side of your infield, and away you go. Or Made goes to second and Terang's at short, whatever, however you want to do it. But you also have Pena coming as well, who is going to be a second baseman. And then eventually it becomes Pena, Made, and Fisher, depending on what happens with Bryce Terang. I was having this conversation the other night. You realize if Bryce Terang gets to the point, and I think Tommy Wirtz brought this up off the air, of Terang potentially hitting 30 home runs, if he gets to that point, he's an MVP candidate. With how good he is defensively, to go along with that type of power and offensive numbers, he becomes that type of MVP candidate. And as much as we all would want to see Bryce Terang stay here forever, that's simply just, they're not going to be able to afford him. It's just not going to happen. Colin in Waukesha on the 262, chiming in the Nicolay Law talking text line as far as what you want to see done. As Colin says, anyway, Jake Bauers could play third. I understand he's a lefty, but that's a great bat to have in the lineup. Okay. The Jake Bauers thing is fun. It'd be probably more fun if your guy Tommy Wirtz was here tonight instead of me answering this question, because if you were asking Tommy Wirtz, Jake Bauers could play all 9 positions and bat at all 9 positions, and this team could win a World Series if Jake Bauers was there. I don't know if Jake Bauers could play third. I have not seen anything that has said that they may try Jake Bauers at third base. Andrew Vaughn played third base that long in the White Sox organization. That could be a potential another opportunity. But having seen what that looked like, I'd rather keep Andrew Vaughn at first base and leave that alone. I don't think Jake Bauers will be given that opportunity necessarily. Now, the outfield situation is something too, because right now, Garrett Mitchell, who is a long forgotten man, I think is going to start in the outfield, right? I mean, it's going to be Churio, Mitchell, and Frelick, I think, in the outfield. And then you're going to have guys like Jake Bauers and Andrew Vaughn and those cats that are probably going to be backups that'll be rotating in and out of that outfield mix at this point. And Blake Perkins, of course. Can't forget about Blake Perkins. I just don't think they start Blake Perkins in front of Garrett Mitchell because of the offensive potential of Garrett Mitchell. Defensively, he's really good. Is he as good as Blake Perkins offensively? Maybe not. But offensively, his bat's just too good if he's right to keep on the bench. So Perkins is probably that fourth outfielder at this moment in time. From the 414, how much do you buy into the Isaac? Is that how you say it? Isaac Paredes trade rumors. I mentioned this earlier on Wisconsin Sports Daily. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make enough sense to me to trade a bunch of prospects for this guy. And the only reason I say that is Jet Williams last year had 17 home runs in the minor leagues. 17. Paredes hit 20. Now, I know the major league numbers and the minor league numbers, that probably shouldn't be compared. But if you look at the exit velocity numbers on Jet Williams, they're going to be just as good as most guys in this lineup right now. If you've not seen video on him, just Google him. Jet Williams, highlights, whatever. He swings like Bryce Harper, like he's coming out of his feet. Now, he's not crazy Carlos Gomez where he's falling on the ground, hats flying one way, he's going the other. Not like that. But he gives it everything he has. And he barrels it up and makes really, really good contact. And he is super, super fast. So if he plays every day or let's say he plays 5 days a week, and he hits 15 to 20 home runs, do you really want to give up that much for an older player who essentially is just biding time till this next wave of prospects that should be here in 27 get here for a year? I don't think Matt Arnold and the Brewers will want to do that. I could be wrong, but I don't think they're going to push in like that to essentially have them for a year. I think they look at this and go, hey, we can still win a lot of games with what we have right here without having to give up a bunch of prospects. I think that is the biggest thing at the end of the day. For the 920, I'm assuming he's talking about Garrett Mitchell recovering from injury. I think that's who he's talking about, or she. Sorry. I always say he. I like to apologize for that because all we get are numbers unless you put your name in it. And I always assume it's a he, and I should not because obviously there are plenty of women that are sports talk fans and listen to the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. So I apologize for always saying he and instead of saying whoever texted in. Yeah, I mean, you've got guys that are obviously coming off injuries like Garrett Mitchell at this point, and the one knock on Garrett Mitchell clearly has been his inability to stay healthy. And you would have to think this is it for Garrett Mitchell. Like, he has got to figure out a way to stay healthy this year and put up a year that everybody has been waiting for him to put up at the end of the day. In fact, I'm going to call up Garrett Mitchell's contract here real quick. I just want to look and see what his contract situation is because the Brewers outfielder situation is not necessarily the greatest in their minor league system as far as you can look at guys and go, oh, yeah, Adam Shevsky is coming. They converted him. He was an infielder. They converted him to the outfielder last year. He's probably your next really good outfielder that's coming. So, yeah, so he's got, let's see. So he's making almost $1 million this year on a deal. And then he's only going into arbitration year 2 next year in 27. Well, he's going to be 28 already. By the time he gets out of this, he's going to be 30 years old and then hitting the street. So I think it's a make or break here, probably for Garrett Mitchell, as far as how he looks for this at this Brewers organization or how the Brewers look at him going forward. And we should also say, while we're frustrated, there's no reason to be mad and getting all mad on social media and everything else about him getting hurt. It's not like this dude is trying to get hurt, man. It's bad luck. That's all it is. A lot of times that's what it is. Now, if a guy's out of shape and so forth, okay, then I get getting mad. Like at one point, Joel Embiid in the NBA was out of shape and was getting hurt. It's like, well, I mean, dude, you eat shakes and fries. Like, what did you think was going to happen, right? So that I understand. I get that. This Garrett Mitchell thing, there's a bunch of freak stuff been happening with him. All right, coming up next, we are going to talk with our guy Chad Patrick, starting pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers. He'll join us. And then coming up in hour 2 at 6 o'clock, looking forward to our guy Sam Dykstra from MLBpipeline.com. We'll talk about these Brewers trades that they made. Talked about the Brewers farm system. Who are the guys that are closest to potentially helping the team maybe this year coming up in 2026? And then Andrew Vaughn, Brewers first baseman, will join us coming up at 6:40. That's all straight ahead here on Hot Stove Weekly, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky in for Tim and Tommy. Welcome back. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily coming up tomorrow afternoon from 2 to 5. Rick Schlesinger, president of business for the Milwaukee Brewers. He'll join us tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. Brewers announcing today their promo schedule. A lot of cool things that will be given away this year. Plus, tickets go on sale tomorrow morning as well. So lots of cool things to talk about with Rick Schlesinger tomorrow, Wisconsin Sports Daily, again, at 3 o'clock here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. See Sparky Fifer with you, in for Tim Allen, in for Tommy Wirtz, as they are both off. They'll be both back next week. However, the show moves to Thursday next week from 5 to 7. So Thursday next week, 5 to 7, Tim and Tommy both return. Joining us next on Hot Stove Weekly on the guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. He is Brewer starting pitcher Chad Patrick. Chad, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I don't know where to start necessarily with you. So let's go all the way back to the beginning of last year and kind of work our way forward. Where were you at physically, mentally, the whole deal at this point last year on the eve of going into spring training?
Yeah, I think you just you go back to last year. It's my first big league camp, and you're trying to make the team. I don't think anything's changed much from that perspective to this year.
When you talk about the mental side of things, do you feel like you're in a different state as far as going into this camp this year, feeling more certain, I guess, of a spot in that rotation?
No, I don't. I don't think so. I don't think you take any day for granted. I think you gotta just continue to trust the process and hope for the best.
Trust the process and hope for the best. I that sounds like a very positive attitude, Chad, that you have. I am more of a half glass, half empty guy. I work on being scared of the other side of things, being scared of failure at this point. What's the one thing that you look at Chris Hook and go, he really either changed this or instilled this in me from when I got to big league camp last year and then throughout the season?
Yeah, Chris Hook, he's a character. He's one of a kind to work with. I got nothing but good things to say about him. We've kind of developed a great relationship as far as what my throwing program looks like. I really love, everything he tells me to do mechanically, or whether it's always working on, a new pitch or something like that. He gets the game really well.
Let's talk about what makes him so good, because I've heard stories in the past from other pitchers I've interviewed along the way as far as pitching coaches knowing the right things to say in the right moments in tough situations when they're on the mound, whether it be loosening them up and cracking a joke to try and ease the tension in that situation, giving them good advice. What makes Chris Hook so good in those situations?
Yeah, I think what makes him really good is just he understands the player he's working with, whether it's me, Priester, Mizrahi, or Logan Henderson. It doesn't matter, what part of it. He understands that he's working with a certain guy, and so like different cues that he brings to the table for me or anyone else is going to be different than someone else.
Talking with Chad Patrick, Brewer starting pitcher here on Hot Stove Weekly on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Steve Sparky Fifer filling in for Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz. Talk about that playoff experience, that obviously being your first time in the postseason, and that series against the Chicago Cubs, and what that atmosphere was like and what that adrenaline rush probably was like for you.
Yeah, I mean, that playoff series was pretty special. For it to come down to one game. I mean, there's nothing like playoff baseball. You grow up watching it on TV, and then now it's your turn. You're doing it. So just trying to do my job and get the outs. It seemed like I just kept finding myself in them big situations, and we just kept running with it.
The other thing I've noticed, Chad, and maybe this is by design of the brilliant Matt Arnold, he seems to like y'all that got play with a lot of emotion. I mean, Mizorowski's hopping and jumping and carrying on after he gets a big moment. You're out there screaming and yelling as well. Playing with that emotion, I think sometimes can help you, and then maybe sometimes it can go the other way.
Yeah, I think there's certain situations that that are gonna make the teapot head flip over, like explode. So I don't necessarily show that type of emotion unless it's something like that. I feel like in that situation it was appropriate, and we're trying to move on in the next series, and that ended up being their last chance to score some runs there. So I enjoyed it. It felt really good to scream,
Yeah, no, you let all that tension out and that whole deal. No, it was awesome. And I think when you guys get so emotional and so fired up, I think from a fan perspective, it's like, man, they're into this like we are. Because the one thing over the years of doing this that you hear all the time is, man, they don't get as mad about losses as I get mad about losses. Like, it ruins my night. It ruins my next day. And it's like, but guys, I mean, it's 162 games. They play every day. If they go on that emotional roller coaster, I mean, they will be worn out by the time you get to June, probably at this point. And that's something I think that fans kind of don't understand is the emotional part of it and how y'all kind of have to keep it in check for an entire season.
Yeah, I think that you said it best is just, there's 162 games. So if we take the loss that we had the night before and then the next night, you're probably going to lose that game too. So you got to wipe the losses and move on. And, we do a really good job of that, and just accepting it for what it is, and just flipping the next page and moving on from 57 to, 58. So.
Talking with Chad Patrick, Brewer starting pitcher here on Wisconsin Sports Daily. See Sparky Pfeiffer in for Tim and Tommy tonight on Hot Stove Weekly. Let's talk a little bit about Freddie Peralta. You get Brandon Woodruff back, which I think is amazing, but then you lose Freddie Peralta in the deal. You get back a younger pitcher in Sprout, and then you get back another guy that's a little bit younger, I guess, in Harrison, in the Caleb Durbin deal as well. From a veteran perspective, a leadership perspective, does it become a big deal when you lose a guy like Freddie Peralta going into this season?
I think Freddie left a really good mark on a couple of us young pitchers. Just, understanding, how to value an organization and how to be a leader in the clubhouse like he was. That's something that I'm definitely looking forward to. At least, if anyone has any questions or advice, I'm able to give it to them, because that's what he did. Anytime you had a question or something like that, you go to him or you go to Woodruff, or like last year it was Quintana too. So I think those guys being in that locker room and being around such young guys, it really helps us young guys kind of understand what it's like to be in their shoes.
How big were they in the playoffs for that leadership, considering Peralta's obviously been in the postseason, Woodruff's been there as well before?
Yeah, they're huge. Their minds are crazy when you sit down and talk to them. They can talk about pitching all day. So it's just, I remember just sitting next to Woodruff on the bench, and he's just laughing at me because I get really nervous, and once I'm on the mound, it's a different story. But he likes to watch me go through my pregame rituals, and I just asked him, how is it like for you to go out there and pitch in games like these? And he said, it's just another normal baseball game, man. Like, yeah, the crowd's loud, everything's different, but you're out there on the mound and it's you and the hitter.
Well, now I've got to ask, do tell, pregame rituals, how crazy are we getting here? Like, what kind of stuff are we doing?
Oh, it's just some nerve thing that I have that goes on before the games. If I'm coughing or something like that,
Are you a puker?
It can come down to it sometimes, you know. I've definitely done it in between, or in the middle of games and stuff. But you know, it's a good thing. It just means I care a lot about winning. So
I'll give you a me example real quick. So this was, well, I guess it'll be 10 years here in a couple of weeks. When I had my 10-year-old boy, I was here getting ready to do a post game show or whatever that night. Brewers were playing, and I find out that we're gonna have a baby. She sends me the text, Chad, that says positive, and she's like, "Oh, this must be why they put 2 in the box. The first one's probably not right." I was like, "What?" And I call, swear to God, I'm like puking my brains out in the bathroom here, right? Tim Allen comes in, the host, he's like, "Dude, you are sick." I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm having some issues." He's like, "Well, you gotta go home, man. I don't want you around me if you're that sick." He had no idea what was going on, obviously, at that point. So yeah, but I mean, when your nerves get going, I cough a lot, I guess, probably to a certain degree if I start getting myself worked up before a show. So I can completely relate to that. Do you feel like your heart's about to come out of your chest, or does your heart slow down as you get into the game, or how long does that take to kind of calm your nerves?
I think, you know, I get all the nerves out in the pregame, or the 8 pitches you get before the batter steps in. So I really acclimate myself to the environment really well, and it just takes a couple deep breaths to understand that you've done this before, and let's just keep doing it.
I've only got a couple of minutes left. The other thing I wanted to bring up, because I see it all the time about the Brewers pitchers and with Chris Hook, is this belief is that he really is a believer of using that cutter and making sure y'all throw that cutter quite a bit. Is that an emphasis that's placed inside that organization?
Kind of seems that way, huh?
It works, right?
Yeah, no, I think everyone's got a different type of cutter. I know mine's a little different than most, but it is used quite a bit in this organization. And when I got traded here, it's kind of just another start of a new chapter, and they really loved my cutter. So, you know, like to your point, yeah, the cutter is a big pitch in this organization. And so
I wanted to bring up one more thing, Chad Patrick, before we call it a day. You were honored and had your number 31 jersey retired a couple of weeks ago at Purdue Northwest in Hammond. I see pictures. That had to be a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, I mean, what a unbelievable special day. Shout out to Purdue Northwest for, you know, making that happen. That was just something I'll never forget. Had my whole family there, and it was just an amazing day. I'm so grateful for that school and everything that I've gotten from that school to now. So
27 starts, most all time, 13 complete games out of 27 starts. Do you have any memories of throwing a crazy amount of pitches along the way coming up in youth sports?
I do remember when I was young in travel ball, you know, I'd come in from an inning and I'd be grabbing my Gatorade to drink, and my whole arm was shaking.
Oh my God.
I was probably 12 or 13 at the time. But I haven't had the shake since then. I must have been overthrown too much when I was younger. But no absurd amount of pitches. My head coach there, Dave Griffin, did a really good job of just controlling that and making sure I was okay to go. So
that's great stuff. Chad Patrick, Brewer starting pitcher. He won't say it. I'll say it. He's got to be in the rotation this year. I don't see how he can't be. Thanks so much for coming on, man. Truly appreciate it, and continued success this year.
Thank you, Sparky. Thanks for having me on.
You bet you. Take care. There he is, Chad Patrick, joining us on the Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call That's all. Take a quick time out. Come back. Continue on. Hot Stove Weekly still to come. Sam Dykstra, MLBpipeline.com, will join us at 6 o'clock. Andrew Vaughn, Brewers first baseman, joins us at 6:40. Hot Stove Weekly live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Welcome back, Hot Stove Weekly. Steve Sparky Fiber with you, Tim Allen, Tommy Wirtz, both off tonight. Our thanks to Chad Patrick, Brewers starting pitcher, for joining us there in the last segment. Still to come, Sam Dykstra, MLBpipeline.com, will give us his thoughts on the Brewers trades this offseason and the prospects they got in return, plus his overall thoughts on who might be able to reach the major leagues this year from the Brewers' #1 ranked farm system in baseball. So that's at 6. At 6:40, Andrew Vaughn will join us coming up at 6:40. Also, Jeff Levering, Brewers play-by-play voice. He was on Inside Wisconsin Sports earlier today with Trevor Thomas and Josh Albright, and we'll hear from him coming up between the Dykstra and Andrew Vaughn interviews. So stay tuned for that as well. I got a couple of text messages coming in on the Nicolay Law Talk and text line, always open for you as well. 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. From the 715, just an observation. Last August, under the radar, the Brewers signed former player Luis Urias, and he played third base in Nashville for the rest of the season. In November, he elected for free agency and is still unsigned. He might get a non-roster invite. And that is correct. Luis Urias is still out there. This will be his age 29 season coming up this year. At the big league level, in 25, he was with the Athletics. He had 287 at-bats, hit 230, 315 on base. He had 8 homers, 25 RBIs with a 338 slugging percentage. In 24, he was in Seattle. Didn't have nearly as many at-bats, only 94 at-bats, hit a .191, 303 on base, 394 slugging. If you go back to 23, when he was with the Brewers, he had a .45, 299 on base, 236 slugging in 55 at-bats. Then he was in Boston for 89 at-bats, 225, 361 on base, 337 slugging. I just don't think there's enough there necessarily for the Brewers to go venturing down that rabbit hole for him. Now, his best year was in a Brewers uniform in 2021, at age 24. He had 23 homers, 75 RBIs. He had 249, 345 on base, 445 slugging. So that was definitely his best year. Now, if you look at him and you think you can recreate that and you can get him back in that position, I guess that makes sense. 23 homers is quite a bit. I just don't think they're willing to do that. I think this is all about getting Chet Williams on the field, getting him playing time, and getting him as many at-bats as possible probably this year without having to go down to Nashville. And that is why you clear space by moving on from Caleb Durbin. And while I understand there are a lot of people that love Caleb Durbin, and I get it, man, right? Hard-nosed player, not afraid to get dirty, maximum effort guy. You got a small kid like me. There's your example. That's how you're supposed to play the game, right? That's how you're supposed to do it. So I understand all of that. I just think from a talent perspective, Jet Williams is just significantly better from a talent perspective, him versus Caleb Durbin. And Durbin was just on this show, Hot Stove Weekly, a couple weeks ago. So I get why you like him. I get that it was very impressive. Did he hit his ceiling last year with the Brewers? Is that as good as he gets? Don't know. I guess we'll find out in Boston as far as if he can put up a better year than he did last year. But I think looking at what you already had in Jet Williams, I think that's why you move on. I think if you don't do the Freddie Peralta deal and Freddie Peralta's still on this team, my guess would be that Caleb Durbin is still on this team as well. But because you did that deal, and one of the guys that you got back, the only way for him to get on the field is to create a space on the infield, so where he can play consistently. That's why I think Caleb Durbin is off to Boston. Freddie stays, I think he stays. If not, then he had to go, and in this case, he had to go. Coming up next, Sam Dykstra, MLBpipeline.com. Coming up top of the hour, then at 6:40, Andrew Vaughn. And in between those, we'll hear from Jeff Levering, who joined Inside Wisconsin Sports earlier today. It's Hot Stove Weekly. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. The franchise, Tim Allen, he's off partying in Las Vegas, probably putting in more money on the Brewers to win the division, win the NL, win the World Series. That's what he does every year. And then Tommy Wirtz off on assignment in Door County. They'll both be back next week, Thursday night next week, not Wednesday night. Thursday night next week, 5 to 7. Hot Stove Weekly, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you.
Hey Brewers fans, we know it can get real cold outside. So let's warm you up with the latest on the crew. It's time for Hot Stove Weekly on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. It's time to focus on the 2026 championship season. Get the latest on free agent signings, trades, the front office, and the fans. It's Hot Stove Weekly with Tommy Wirtz. Here's the franchise Tim Allen.
Not so fast. Tim Allen, Tommy Wirtz, both out tonight. See Sparky Fifer filling in for them. Again, thanks to Chad Patrick, Brewers starting pitcher, for joining us there in the last hour. Still to come this hour, we'll hear from Jeff Levering, Brewers play-by-play guy. He was on Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh this morning. Then I'll have a chance to talk with Andrew Vaughn, I should say. He joins us live coming up at 6:40. Brewers starting first baseman joining us now on the guest hotline. Powered by Gerber Law. One call, that's all. He is the aforementioned Sam Dykstra. Sam, thanks for coming on, man. How are you?
I'm good, Sparky. How are you?
Doing really good. I haven't talked to you in a while, so I'm curious to see your thoughts on what has been going on with the Milwaukee Brewers. So let's rewind a little bit to that Peralta trade where they get Sproat and Jet Williams in that deal coming back. Your thoughts on both of those guys and how you see their years playing out ahead of them?
Yeah, when the deal went down, I laughed a little because it seemed like such a perfect Brewers trade, right? They love to keep the wheel turning, getting guys who they can plug in and be essentially major league ready. Jet Williams probably has to go back to AAA for a little bit more seasoning, but Brandon Sproat is somebody with major league experience already. He should be in the conversation for that number 4, number 5 job this spring. And it's just somebody they can continue to add length. They don't have to wait for these guys to develop. It's somebody they can plug in pretty quick. Jet Williams, a lot has been made, obviously, about the fact that he's 5'7", and the Brewers seem to love anybody who's 5'11" and under. But there's a lot to like with the player. He lives up to his first name. He's a quick guy, spark plug out of the right side of the box, has above average arm. His power plays better than you would think for his size because he lifts and pulls the ball really well. He dealt with some health problems in 2024, was fully healthy last year, getting back to productive. He can play shortstop. He can play second base. He can play center field. He's one of those athletic types that, we'll see how things work out for the Brewers where they need the most help. But I think that's where he's going to end up playing. He can play any of those 3 positions at least an average level.
I will tell you right now, Mr. Dykstra, that they are going to play him at third base and give him some run at third base because of the next trade we'll talk about after this one, because of Caleb Durbin exiting stage left. There's not many of options. I was of the belief when they made this deal for Durbin, it is to get Jet Williams on the field more right away this year.
Yeah, we'll see. Just quickly on Brandon Sproat. I mean, one thing I find really interesting with him last year, he had a 4-seamer that wasn't very good. He started to use more of his sinker. Both pitches can go into the upper 90s. He can tickle triple digits. And if he's somebody who relies on that sinker more, then you get somebody who can really work for Milwaukee, get a lot of ground balls, get balls hit to Joey Ortiz, Bryce Terang. Those are going to be outs in Milwaukee. So he's somebody who I think could be a really good fit there as well. As for Jet Williams at third base, he might have the arm for it. He doesn't have the experience for it. So you'd be throwing him in at a new position. I think you just keep him up the middle, try to get the athleticism. I'm kind of waiting for another move to happen for them to fill that third base spot. Until it happens, I guess we have to at least consider Jet Williams at third base, but I think he's just too athletic to move away from the middle of the field.
I just think it's a gap year. That's what I think. I think they are waiting for the next group to get here, waiting for Fisher, waiting for Made, waiting for Adams, waiting for that group to get here, whether that be 27 or 28 or whatever. They're just trying to get to those next sticks versus potentially signing somebody to a deal and then potentially blocking somebody. I think they're just trying to get through, because if you look at what's coming, Jet Williams is going to be an outfielder. Like I just don't see how he stays on the infield once the Brewers farm system starts to get to the major league level.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult, right? Like, you're not going to move Bryce Terang out of the middle infield. Maybe you move him to shortstop someday, but, I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. I have my questions about Joey Ortiz, how long can you carry that bat? But like you said, I'm not saying Jesus Made is going to knock on the door in the first half, but he's going to be knocking on the door by this time next year. And he's somebody you absolutely make space for. And Andrew Fisher, I could see him being a quick mover, too. He was our top third base prospect in all of baseball coming into this year. We think it's going to be plus power. He played a lot of first, so maybe the biggest question is how is the glove going to transition back across the diamond? He may be a work in progress there, but I absolutely expect the bat to make him a quick mover in a way that you kind of hoped Brock Wilken would have done this a few years ago. Andrew Fisher could be that guy, and he hits from the left side.
Speaking of Brock Wilken, I mean, he obviously is closer, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, he had that freak accident, 2 freak accidents, really. I mean, going back 2 years ago, getting hit in the face, that seemed to maybe have made him skittish for the rest of the season at AA Biloxi. Saw him in the fall league that year. He was tired after a long first full season. I got it. Coming back this year was just starting to get hot for Biloxi, was going to be sent to Nashville right after, their first half, and then ends up having a knee injury in the celebration, just a freak thing. Doesn't come back the same player after that. I think he could still be something. You watch him hit. It's interesting. He's going to have that pull side power, but we just need to see it consistently. Hopefully he opens this year in Nashville. I think that's the expectation. You put Luke Adams at first base. It's going to be a really interesting infield situation for the Sounds.
He is Sam Dykstra, MLBpipeline.com, one of my favorites that I have on all the time on Wisconsin Sports Daily. And since I was filling in tonight on Hot Stove Weekly, I wanted to grab him for this show too. Let's talk about this Chad Durbin deal to the Red Sox. I argue that they sold high on Chad Durbin, and I just don't know how much better he gets from what he got necessarily last year. I think he had a great year. Obviously, Brewers fans fell in love with him, didn't want to see him obviously get traded. Nobody saw this coming. The deal, Durbin, Monasterio, and Anthony Siegler, they leave in a competitive balance round B draft pick. Brewers get back David Hamilton, Shane Drohan, and, of course, Kyle Harrison, who is the centerpiece probably of that deal. Thoughts on that trade?
Yeah, that one was a fascinating one for me, just because the Brewers getting back Shane Drohan, he is the one prospect in that deal. Kyle Harrison is post prospect. He used to be a top 100 guy for us. They were really interested to see if maybe they can mix in a sinker for him, get him to unlock what the fastball that we thought could be good, but it just has not played as well in AAA or the majors. But Shane Drohan, you look at his stuff last year, and it's really fascinating because the fastball is not great. It's like 93, 94 in terms of velocity, but he was getting whiff rates around 35, 36% at AAA, which was one of the best whiff rates on a four-seamer in all of that level. And I think it's because he hides the ball well pretty late. Guys can't see it very well. It explodes top of the zone. He can make it play above that velocity. His cutter is really interesting because it has more rise than a traditional cutter, but guys really pounded it because he was throwing it in the middle of the zone. He's got a slider, a curveball, a changeup. Like, he's just another piece of this pitching mix that the Brewers kind of have admirable depth. I know they lost Freddie Peralta, the guy at the top of the chain, for their rotation. But they have so many guys that are going to give them multiple bites at the apple of hopefully finding somebody who can stick as a 4 or a 5. We mentioned Sproat. We mentioned Logan Henderson's certainly in that conversation. Robert Gasser, who came up late last year after the Tommy John surgery. Now you add Drohan to that mix. Hopefully one of these guys can click and maybe get into maybe even the number 3 situation. But this is what you want to do if you are trying to be good next year. Turning Durbin, who like you said, might not be really the future of the franchise, into Drohan, who could help pitching depth. You need pitching depth come September.
Oh, they got plenty of pitching depth, like you just got to talking about. I mean, right now you look at this rotation, and it's Woodruff, it's Mizorowski or Priester, 2-3. I think it's Chad Patrick probably in that rotation. And then after that, then you can have your conversation about who that 5th guy is. If you start talking about lefties, how important is it to you, do you think, in the majors nowadays to have at least one lefty in that rotation? Because that could really narrow down who we're talking about here.
Yeah, it could. I don't think you need it as much as maybe people used to think. It's all about matchups beyond that. I mean, we're not seeing starting pitchers go 6-7 innings, right?
Right.
So it's like if it's 4 or 5 and dive, well, it becomes less important about how your stuff works. Like Logan Henderson, for example, with that really, really good changeup, he can basically work splits like a lefty anyways. So even though it's all from the same side, the way he works and getting that changeup against opposite side bats, he'll have the effect you want. So I don't think it's as worrisome as it used to be. It'll look a little weird on the page when you just see R down the line. But if you think Logan Henderson is your 5th best starter, go out and pitch him every 5th day.
Talking with our guy Sam Dykstra, MLBpipeline.com, joining us here on Hot Stove Weekly on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Okay, so if we're saying it's going to be one of these guys, Kyle Harrison, Sprout, Gasser, Logan Henderson, if it's one of those four, who would you roll with?
I would personally go with Sprout, I think. Henderson might be a little bit more ready. He obviously had the success last year. My worry with Henderson is like he needs to be built up. He still hasn't shown that he can stay out there for 90-plus innings in a season.
Yep.
Whereas Sprout has done that the last 2 years. So I want to see Henderson just post, essentially, week in and week out. Now, maybe the argument for that is going the other way, right? Like, if you're worried about him breaking down, making sure he gets his innings in the majors where they count for you and not for Nashville. So we'll see on that. But I think Sprout, he just has such a deep pitch mix. For Henderson, it's basically fastball, changeup. He's got a cutter, he's got a slider, but they're not as good pitches. I think Sprout has more room to grow, even though he's a little bit on the older side. Get him into the major leagues, allow him to maybe use that sinker more, learn from the major league bats, and expand into. I think he could be a future number 4 pretty easily.
You think so?
I think so, yeah, just because we're in this age now of the pitch mix, right? Like, it's not so good to just have 260 pitches on the 20 to 80 scale. It's better to have, multiple 55s to keep hitters guessing. That's what seemed to really work for guys last year. And I think Sprout has a better chance of being that than Henderson.
I have one more for you, and that is Jefferson Cuero, who at one point was the number 1 prospect in this Brewers organization. You're looking at a situation with William Contreras that, based on history, the Brewers will keep this year and then trade in the offseason. What do you do with Jefferson Cuero as you sit here today? Because right now it looks like there's a chance he could be the backup catcher to Contreras. This is another guy like others who has battled an injury history here down in the Brewers farm system. Would you rather play him every day, or would you rather have him sit up here and be around Contreras as much as possible to get essentially ready to take over that job?
I would much rather have him play every day, personally, because last year, even when he did come back from the shoulder injury that knocked him out for basically all of 2024, he got hurt in the first game. So really had no development time whatsoever. The throwing was really off in the first half. And from what I've heard, the Brewers were basically warned, hey, it's going to be until like August or September until he can really throw with all his might. And that used to be his biggest asset, was his throwing ability. So we started to see that come back late in the season last year. He started to swing with more conviction last year. Allow him to carry that momentum forward. He needs the reps, both behind the plate and at the plate. And I think bringing him up for the major leagues, yes, that would be great for him, and I'm sure he would greatly appreciate that. But in order to get the best out of Caro, you need him playing every day and forcing the issue. That's why when news broke today that Gary Sanchez was coming back to Milwaukee, just made all the sense in the world. It allows Caro to play without that pressure this spring and just show out who he can be. He's somebody who dropped off our top 100 because, catchers break down. And if he's breaking down, that's not a good sign. But what we saw at the tail end of last year gives me hope that maybe he could be back to the Jefferson Caro who we thought we were going to get at the beginning of 2024.
You realize Gary Sanchez hasn't hit over 232 since 2017?
I mean, that sounds about right for that guy who swings out of his shoes and just hopes it goes into the seats every time.
I mean, my goodness gracious. Last year, 231, 297 on base, 418 slugging, 5 homers, 24 RBIs. Now for the Brewers in 24, and that I think is something the Brewers like, right? You get them on the cheap for, $1.75 million. That year, 11 homers, 37 RBIs, 220, 307, 392 slugging. So clearly, they would rather go down this way with Cuero. I don't know, man. Like, that's not much money, $1 million. They could bring him into camp, decide we're going to go with Cuero and cut him. And move on if they decide Cuero is ready. I could very easily see that happening.
Yeah, that could happen, or that could happen in late May, for example, right? If Caro is swinging with that conviction that we saw August, September last year, and the throwing ability is back, and he's throwing out 30 to 40% of base runners like he used to do, then Sanchez, you DFA him, and it's no huge loss. So it felt like a good stopgap for now. Hopefully Caro forces the issue, but I think he needs to do it. You can't bank on him doing that.
This is my angle. And tell me if I'm nuts. If I'm Pat Murphy, and as much as I praise William Contreras, and I swear to God, he praises him like every game. Oh, great game plan there. Great calling of the game there by Contreras. Great calling of the game by Contreras. It's all we hear. and I'm not saying he's Molina necessarily, but obviously he's pretty good at what he does. I think I'd want Cuero at the big league level, just sponging off everything he could possibly get from bringing on William Contreras next year, even if it means less at bats. A, hopefully that means he stays healthier. And B, if he can figure out that aspect of the game a little bit more and learn these pitchers, so when they do move Contreras, if that's what's going to happen, which we all expect to, that they're not going to pay him, that he now already has, even a better understanding of what Chris Hook wants at the major league level as a pitching coach, and really gets a better understanding of how to attack different hitters because he has a year under his belt.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about that is, in order to learn under Contreras, I think that's what those next 6-7 weeks are going to be about, right? Like, he's going to be around him tons down there in Arizona, soaking up as much as he can. And then I would send him out and be like, okay, I've given you 6-7 weeks of training. Now put it into every day. Like, make sure you are playing. The only way you're going to get better is by playing. So I think he may be a very late cut. Like, they're not going to send him to the backfields that early because they want him around Contreras. They want him around Hook. They want him around the pitchers as much as possible. But I would still rather get him the reps because he needs them coming off last year.
Sam Dykstra, appreciate it as always. MLBpipeline.com. Make sure to check it out. He is awesome. Sam, thanks so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sparky. Anytime.
You bet you. Take care. There he is, Sam Dykstra, joining us there on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. I get the Gary Sanchez thing. I just don't. Like I said, if it were me, I would want this dude to become William Contreras throughout the season. Yeah, I know he won't get as many at-bats that he would catch it every day or 5 days a week or whatever down in Nashville, but that's okay. Have him a little bit of bubble wrap. Make sure he's ready to go and get as much knowledge as possible. I get he'll be around him in spring training. It's not the same thing as game planning and getting ready for games during the regular season and seeing how Contreras handles different hitters and picking up the nuances and so forth. I think I'd give Cuero a notebook and be like, here, man, I want this filled up by the end of the year about all the things that you've learned from William Contreras, whether it be notes on how to attack different hitters, how different pitchers go after different hitters. I want this notebook filled with notes by the end of the year as far as what you've picked up from William Contreras. I think that's more beneficial than having a veteran like Gary Sanchez that's going to come in here and he's down at AAA. I get why you bring in Sanchez because he's got the reputation already of doing his job. Chris Hook obviously is down with him and likes him. Matt Arnold obviously had a good experience with him when he was a backup catcher for the Brewers to Contreras. You have that relationship between those two guys already. I just think I rather would have given Cuero a shot. That's just my 2 cents. Coming up next, Jeff Levering, Brewers play-by-play voice, joined Inside Wisconsin Sports this morning with Josh Albrecht and Trevor Thomas. You'll hear that. Plus, we'll give you what that promo schedule looks like for the Milwaukee Brewers this year. Don't forget, tickets go on sale tomorrow morning. Single game tickets go on sale tomorrow morning. It's Hot Stove Weekly. Still ahead, Andrew Vaughn, Brewers first baseman, joins us in 20 minutes as we broadcast live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Welcome back. It is Hot Stove Weekly. Steve Sparky Fiver with you. Tim Allen, Tommy Wirtz both off tonight. They'll both be back for Hot Stove Weekly next week. Thursday night edition next week. We have a college basketball game in Milwaukee. So, therefore, can't add that on the network. So we will move Hot Stove Weekly so the network can hear Hot Stove Weekly to Thursday night from 5 to 7. Thursday night, 5 to 7, talking Brewers baseball as we get closer to spring training. Starts tomorrow. Single game tickets go on sale tomorrow as well. So tell your friends, tell your family if you want tickets. They go on sale tomorrow morning. Coming up, we're going to talk with Andrew Vaughn, first baseman for the Milwaukee Brewers. Looking forward to hearing from him. Now I want you to hear back from Jeff Leverick, Brewers play-by-play voice, who joined Inside Wisconsin Sports that you can hear weekday mornings here on this Wisconsin Sports Radio Network from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. He was on this morning with Trevor Thomas and Josh Albright. Here you go. There is Jeff Levering from earlier today. If you want to hear the rest of that interview, just go to wisportsradio.com. wisportsradio.com. Listen to the rest of the interview with Brewers play-by-play guy Jeff Levering, joining Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh earlier this morning. Again, Vinny Rottino on tomorrow on that show as well. Coming up next, Brewers first baseman Andrew Vaughn joins me here on Hot Stove Weekly as we broadcast live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky in for Tim and Tommy. Welcome back. It is Hot Stove Weekly. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer in tonight for the vacationing Tim Allen, who is in Las Vegas, partying it up. Can hardly blame him for that. Tommy Wirtz, co-host of that show. He is on location doing other things for us in Door County. You'll hear him right back at things again tomorrow on the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder Nellis, presented by Verizon from noon till 2. And then back in the seat from 5 to 6, hosting Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up like he does every other night of the week. And, of course, don't forget, during the season, we'll have the leadoff show 1 hour before every game with Tommy Wirtz getting ready for Brewers baseball. And then after every show, the Potawatomi Sportsbook post-game show with the franchise, Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz. Not going to be anywhere else better for Brewers baseball coverage than right here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Thanks to listening. If you're in Duluth, Superior, Green Bay, Appleton, Southeastern Wisconsin, Wausau, all over the state. Thanks for listening tonight. Joining us now, a very special guest, is the starting first baseman for your Milwaukee Brewers. Joining us on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. He is Andrew Vaughn. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, so I got to know. So, like, last year with the White Sox, obviously, I was going back and I was watching different videos on YouTube and stuff today, and I was watching a video from the White Sox hitting director or whatever, the day that they had sent you down. And then eventually you get obviously traded to the Brewers. Where was your mindset at last year heading into spring training, obviously starting with the big league club with the White Sox, versus where you're at now, and how much have you changed?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of, mentality stuff. Just trying to build off of everything that I've learned, in my few years in the big leagues and, growing up in baseball, just trying to become the best version of myself, taking little bits and pieces from wherever it comes from, learning how to use that and just implement it into my game and, trying to make myself that much better.
This thing that I saw in this video I was watching earlier today talked about, we're going to give them a breather. We're going to give them a reset. And I've done this for a long time, and I say the same thing. I've heard people say the same thing. Is that really what it is when a player gets sent down to the minors after they've been struggling?
I think it's both sides. I mean, definitely I was in the big leagues for 4 years straight. Definitely had a rough stretch there, and, definitely a confidence thing. You get sent down, it's like, all right, what do we do from here? It could go several different ways. I had a lot of people in my corner, pumping me up, and, I just had to keep that mentality to just, stay strong, keep my focus and keep working. Really, that's all there was to do, and just focus on that.
Talking with Andrew Vaughn, Brewers first baseman here on Hot Stove Weekly. I will tell you, I'm kind of a nerd. I read all the advanced stats. I look at all this different stuff I can get my hands on. So getting ready to talk to you, I was doing some research and trying to see kind of like what changed or what people have written about what they think changed at the end of the day from when you got to Milwaukee versus before Milwaukee. One of the things I found was a more aggressive leg kick. And he also got his hands moving a little bit sooner. Is that something that they worked on with you? Is that something that's coincidence? What would you say to that?
Yeah, that was something we had talked about, being more on time, just, getting my move done earlier. And I mean, the biggest thing is being on time, being able to see the ball. I think every hitter will tell you that. Just being in a position to where when that pitcher's coming at you, you're ready to go. Being able to adjust, all those sorts of things, but just being in the right position.
One of the other things that was brought up that I was reading, I was reading this on Brewer Fanatic. I'll give Matthew Trueblood all the credit in the world. He broke you down like nobody else. Talked about Vaughn kept his hands in much closer to his body. This shared instant of the swing is a telling one because of what's happening with his front shoulder. Instead of letting his hands take his bat on a wide arc through the hitting zone, Vaughn is rotating that front shoulder out and backward, pulling the bat through closer to his body and creating that extra bat speed he found with the crew. When we have a million different hitting coaches like the Brewers do, who works with you on what?
I think it's a combo of everything. I mean, everybody's working together. You can go to any one of our hitting coaches and they know your routine. They know what you're doing. They know your plan. And so it's a combination of everything. Like you can go to anybody and be like, all right, I'm feeling this today. It's like, all right, let's work on this, and I think that's really special. I think that was a huge help for me, like everybody being on that page and being able to, have all these different angles of different coaches, and different looks. I think that helped me a lot.
Talking with Andrew Vaughn, first baseman for the Milwaukee Brewers here on Hot Stove Weekly. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. How much in the weeds do you get analyzing yourself once you get into the season? I would assume in the offseason it's probably really in the weeds, looking at every little thing and looking at metrics and so forth as you try and get yourself better. Once you get into the season, just how crazy does it get?
It can get crazy if you make it crazy. Me personally, I like to, try to keep it really simple. If you need to make some tweaks here and there, but I think it's just, find that routine, use the information that you need, and just keep rolling. And like, if you got to go back and look at some stuff, go to the drawing board, it's always there.
Are there metrics you like more than others?
Oh, I mean, there's obviously your exit velos tell you how hard you're hitting the ball, launches, whatnot. Like, I think contact point is huge. Direction's huge. I think being able to have those numbers now is really important because that kind of tells you where you are on playing with the ball.
Having been with the White Sox organization and having played in the American League this whole time, then getting over to the National League, and I know there's interleague play and all of this still, but seeing these teams in this division quite a bit more than you had, obviously, in the past, did you take anything away as the season went on, learning a little bit more about this National League style of play maybe versus the American League, if there is a difference?
I mean, it wasn't much. I mean, it was 2.5-ish months, but I didn't see a huge difference. I mean, it's baseball. It's the same game. I mean, teams have different, philosophies of how they play, but, I think it was pretty similar.
We had Tim Dillard on earlier today, former Brewers pitcher, and now he's an analyst, obviously, for the Brewers. I'm sure you know Tim at this point. And he has his podcast, and he talks to different minor league guys or major league guys that he was teammates with back in the day. And he had Patrick Wisdom on the latest episode that he recorded today before he came on my show in the afternoon. And I was just like, ugh, Brewer killer. Can't stand him. Absolutely kills the Brewers when he was with the Cubs. And he started laughing and so forth. So, Andrew Vaughn, I come to you. Who is an Andrew Vaughn killer? And who doesn't want to see Andrew Vaughn because you've had so much success against him?
Ooh, Andrew Vaughn killer.
Who do you see and you're like, oh man, I'm sunk. Like, this dude just has owned me from the time I got in the league. And then opposite, a guy that you just see really, really well for whatever the reason.
Man, Tristan McKenzie had my ticket. I think I probably faced him north of 20 times, and I maybe have 1 or 2 hits off of him. Just, he got me every time. That was a guy. Shoot, I don't know. I'm trying to think of who I have good numbers off of. I'd have to go in and look, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
Well, that's all right, because we'll talk again later in the season, and then you'll have some names in your mind. Sparky, I was thinking about this. I got a couple now that we can talk about, guys, that I feel really good about. And that's the thing, though, right? And you talked about it earlier, the mental approach of it. And I think even going all the way down to the youth level, as far as confidence in how that plays, regardless of how old you are or whatever, if you come in with that down attitude because you've been struggling and you can't keep yourself up, that affects everything at that point.
Yeah, it really does. I think that was the biggest thing I learned about myself is just, having that confidence in myself, knowing who I am as a player and as a person, and being able to just go out there and play free. Like, that was a big thing for me. And I think, that helped me propel into that second half of last season and, just built off that.
Talking with Andrew Vaughn, first baseman for the Milwaukee Brewers, as he gets ready for spring training to start here. I'm anxious to see what you think after spring training is done in Arizona versus to what you've been doing in Florida, because getting around in Arizona, from everything I've been told, is much easier than getting around in Florida as far as times to the different ballparks and so forth. Is there one aspect of it that you're looking forward to?
Oh, shoot. I mean, I got lucky. I've been in Arizona for spring every time. I actually used to live here.
Oh, that's right. The White Sox are in Arizona. I'm an idiot. I don't know why I'm thinking they were in Florida still. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
It's all good, but I've heard stories from guys who have played in Florida. The travel's 2-3 hours, but, it's pretty lucky that we're in Arizona and, get this great weather, and it ain't too bad.
Okay, fine. So let's give some advice to those listening. Those that are listening, probably a bunch are going to be going down to spring training to get out of this cold weather that we have up here. It's actually balmy in Wisconsin right now. It's been in the 30s here the last couple of days. Tell everybody a restaurant or two per Andrew Vaughn that if you're coming down to spring training, that you would say, go check this out.
Ooh, I like bourbon and bones.
Ooh, I like bourbon. I like ribs. That sounds like a good combo.
Phenomenal steakhouse. I'm gonna go Ocean 44. Just kind of a
seafood place.
It's a mix. It can be anything. It's like a mixture of the steak. I think it's Steak 44, Ocean 44. I think it's just the two of them, but I like the Ocean 44.
I like it. All right, so there are 2 recommendations from Andrew Vaughn when you go down to spring training to see the Milwaukee Brewers play. Andrew, hey, man, thanks so much for coming on. Continued success this year. I can't wait to see how you get even better this year from even what you did in the second half last year. Appreciate for coming on.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. Take care. There is Andrew Vaughn, first baseman for the Milwaukee Brewers on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call. That's all. That was a lot of fun talking with Andrew Vaughn. Very, very easy conversation, and enjoyed having him on. This article that I was referencing on Brewer Fanatic by Matthew Trueblood is really good. At the end of the article, he says, if Vaughn maintains the work ethic and discipline he showed when the organization first brought him aboard, he should be something like a 280, 350 on base, 450 slugging hitter next season. His adjustments are real, and while all adjustments beget counter adjustments, his are well selected to survive that next challenging phase. I mean, again, if you're a Milwaukee Brewers fan, you have got to be super excited about Andrew Vaughn. Just super excited. I mean, you saw why he went as high as he did in the draft and why the White Sox really, had all the faith and confidence in him. And he just absolutely took off. That is a big time difference maker there. We talk about getting more power and more thump and so forth. Well, if he becomes that big thump in the middle of this lineup, that will kind of change everything, I think, for the Milwaukee Brewers going forward. All right, so coming up tomorrow on Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, Rick Schlesinger will join us here on Wisconsin Sports Daily tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, and we're going to talk about the new promo schedule that they put out today. One of the cool features Charlie Usen and I were talking about was the bobbleheads that they have or whatever else look like they're coming out of a baseball card this year, which is a very cool feature that I really, really liked a lot when I saw that earlier. So we'll get into that. Single game tickets go on sale tomorrow morning for the Milwaukee Brewers as well. So if you want to make sure you get your tickets to see the Trader and the Cubs, or get your tickets to see one of the other teams on the Brewers schedule, or just get tickets to see the damn Brewers because they're that good, they go on sale tomorrow. Make sure to take advantage of that. I love that Sunday family pack that they have going on. Get hot dogs and sodas and popcorn, I think, even too. This year, they did a real good job with that. So looking forward to talking with Schlesinger tomorrow at 3. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, Vinny Rottino will join Inside Wisconsin Sports. Enjoy the rest of your night. My thanks to Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz for letting me fill in. We'll talk to you tomorrow here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Have a good night, Wisconsin. Toodles.